Welcome back, everyone, to the English coverage of the Chinese LPL. We've got one hell of a game to kick off our third straight week of LPL coverage. OMG will be taking on Snake in what should be one incredible matchup. I'm Julian Pechhamkar, joined by Christopher Papa Smithy Smith. And Papa Smithy, where on earth do we start with a matchup like this?
Well, normally a game like this needs no introduction. First place against second place is already a massive matchup, but definitely some interesting developments coming out of China during the week.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of an issue with the mid laner over on the Snake side, unfortunately. He had an injury kind of moving into this week. Sometime in the middle of the week, there you can see it on your screen. That is Baka's arm, what it looks like. That's his left hand, his mouse hand, I believe is his right hand, but he's still playing. Somehow.
And Baka, this mid lane carry, has been playing so much Xerath. We've actually been praising him specifically for the excellence of his skill shots. You saw from the pictures there, it is his left arm that's injured, so that's actually the arm he uses on the keyboard. So theoretically, maybe the skill shots will still be hitting, but you have to think it's going to impact his confidence going into a week where he faces 3 of the top teams in the LPL. No easy ask for a mid laner stepping up to the LPL this season.
Yeah, we've talked about Snake just coming to the weeks with so much momentum, going almost undefeated in 2 weeks of LPL play. Did finally drop a game to King last weekend, but they come in here facing arguably 3 of the best 4-5 teams in the region so far based on performance, and this is the best team right now. First place are OMG, undefeated, and they've just looked completely unstoppable.
Yeah, 8 wins out of 8 to start the season here. And, you know, before the season started, when Uzi was introduced to this team, we were like, all right, how are they going to fit in all these carries, all these egos, all these top players who, you know, as we said from the week 1, you go down this lineup here, all these players are either indisputably or in argument for the top in their position in the region, even after all the Korean imports have come in and really leveled and raised the talent pool here in the LPL this season. You've got Going, you've got Cool, you've got Uzi. We've kind of seen 2 different flavors from OMG. We've seen OMG go for the kind of the tankier route. We've been seeing Going picking up that Maokai. We actually saw the Lulu mid on Cool against LeBlanc, and Uzi picking up Siva, and that actually worked surprisingly well. You know, Uzi was able to step up and take that extra gold. But it's not just that. We've seen the 3 hyper carries. That's kind of the one that, you know, makes the analyst smile, makes everyone smile, right? When you see Uzi flying in on Vayne, LeBlanc in the mid lane, and Going's Kassadin. It's exciting, and we never know match on match which OMG we're going to see. But the one consistent, they're always winning.
Yeah, and the way we're going to introduce OMG, you'd think that finding a featured matchup in a team full of amazing players might be difficult, and it is, but I think, honestly, this matchup comes down to the jungles here. It's Beast versus Loveling.
Yeah, there was all that hot debate in the office this week. You know, you think about Cool versus Baka. We've seen so much impressive play from both of them. I mean, Going versus Flandre, 2 very hyped top laners. But in the jungle, Beast has been so critical to Snake's play here so far. When he gets ahead in the early game, they've been able to snowball and take very big leads. When he kind of struggles, they kind of tend to hang back, focus on that hyper carry picks from Crystal, but can you really hang back against Loveling and the aggression of OMG?
We'll have to see as we are into champs like for game on. OMG on the blue side here for this first game. Snake over on the red. Rek'Sai and Azir, the first 2 bans for OMG, and Kassadin and LeBlanc straight to those mages for Snake.
So 1 champion now banned out against Baka. The big question is, will Xerath be available right here? Whenever Baka picks up Xerath, he looks like a completely different player. He is a master of that champion. And no, OMG at least aren't going to be banning it away.
Like the target in there, Flandre's Rumble gets picked off as the 3rd ban there for OMG. And Snake, they've got a lot to consider here for their last ban.
Yeah, there's a lot of very strong picks available right here. Of course, Gnar is still available. You have to think that'll be considered. And yes, that is the final ban. I mean, Janna first pick, is that what we're going to see from OMG?
I mean, Janna and Javan, I guess, the most obvious pick still open here. Love the Gnar ban there from Snake as well. Going has been absolutely incredible on that champion. So no surprise to see that banned away. I think they've left a lot open here sort of intentionally. Lots of targeted bans in this series, which is interesting. And OMG, they're going to make a great first pick here, but it's going to give Snake 2 very strong picks.
Yeah, we didn't even speak about Lissandra as they're kind of deciding between all of the flavorful, strong picks we've been talking about. They're settling on Aurelia right now. Obviously, still plenty of time. I'd have to think it's going to be Lissandra just because she's the one real popular meta pick right now that can't be peeled away by that Janna.
Yeah, and I think as we do lock it in, Lissandra will be the first pick there for OMG. And I couldn't agree, but this drafting's really weird from OMG. They've maybe overdone it with the targeted bans because Snake are going to get 2 really strong champions here. If they want Java and Xerath, they can just snap it off right now.
And I think you've actually been keeping statistics. Whenever the red side starts to get those really 2 powerful picks, we've seen a lot of red side victories in games 1 in a series just because they're able to get 2 of what is a pool of maybe 3 or 4 champions that have been escaping the bans and then be able to come out and get a priority pick in the second game here. So, I mean, Janna Javan, that's been as meta a duo pick on the red side as we've seen so far.
Yeah, the JJ might be coming out here for Snake. It's been just so good here. Ella's played a fantastic Janna as well. Really impressed me with his play. Another Korean import coming to play for this team, and that's what they go for. Can't argue with these two picks.
Absolutely. It's been 2 picks for their Korean players right here, the support and jungle. Of course, there is that potential of the flex pick from Jarvan, but far more common is that Jarvan jungle compared to Jarvan top.
And for me, I guess the curious thing about this draft, especially once we get through this game, what's up with the Azir ban? Because we haven't seen Baka play much other than Xerath, which is what we talked about earlier.
I mean, the one thing it screams to me is they want to see Baka on this Xerath, whether that's for learning purposes, because you have to remember this is a league. There is a potential. They just want to scout out that Xerath and see what Cool has to play against it, or they have that secret perfect counter pick they're going to bring out. I mean, it was Cool's Lulu that really showed the power of picking against a LeBlanc. They let the enemy team pick LeBlanc, pick Lulu, and really countered the impact of that assassin in the mid lane. Maybe they just have a really excellent answer to the Xerath.
Yeah, Rengar, Sivir, though, the next 2 picks there for OMG, so going to give Loveling his Rengar, and Uzi's going to be back on that more utility 80. He's got Sivir again.
But they're considering some very interesting champions right here. The Tristana for Crystal is completely a mainstay, so they are getting this hyper carry for Crystal, which is where they're more confident on. And look at this, they do actually lock in the Nunu here. I guess they're pigeonholing themselves into the Jarvan top.
I mean, I guess so. There's no other place unless Baka's getting really creative and wants to play Jarvan mid. I mean, this draft is very disguised for the most part here for Snake. They're actually playing with the last pick in this draft very well, but those are some 2 pretty creative picks. We've seen how Beast Nunu can do a lot of damage. Great with the Tristana as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of tools Tristana has to succeed here. Disengage from Janna, of course, the blood boil from Nunu. Oh my is right. I mean, we saw it from Wayless, and he did fantastically well against M5 and Dade there, but this would be something different.
Yeah, that's Cassiopeia Thresh for OMG to round out their lineup. And if there's one thing I can say about OMG looking impressive, it is their double AP players looked amazing, especially with a champion like Sivir.
And super interesting to see Cassiopeia rising up in terms of picks right here. I love the synergy between Cassiopeia and Sivir, just because Cassiopeia is all about putting out massive amounts of single target damage when she's able to get in range to keep her poison ticks going. Of course, Sivir's on the hunt's going to give us so much extra movement speed. It's going to be so hard to peel Cool and that Cassiopeia off the enemy team. And look, they left the Xerath open. They probably expect the Xerath pick to come out here. And we see Snake picking up a very strong lineup. These are some of the strongest champions that each player here has shown in the LPL this season. A Gambit's been thrown out to Snake. Basically, OMG said, look, we know you're good at this game, but we're even going to give you your comfort champions. What have you got for us?
Take everything you want, and I think we can still beat you. OMG, to be fair, with the way OMG have played, this is a very OMG-style comp as well. So I do like all the champions here. The Cassiopeia is fantastic. And maybe let's go to the mid lane matchup, actually. Tell me, Bobby Smithy, how much do you know about Xerath versus Cassiopeia?
I mean, in terms of actually watching tape, not that much. Obviously, Cassio's just starting to come through as a meta pick right here. I mean, the one thing you can say is that if Xerath is happy to get zoned a little bit and is happy to farm from range, once he picks up levels in his Q, he should be able to wave clear just fine. And of course, he'll have the ranged wave clear and assassination, I guess, potential with that ultimate advantage to go into the game. But you have to feel that if Loveling ever is able to make that level 6 gank felt between the coming in and stealth and, of course, the petrifying gaze coming out of Cool, a lot of potential for domination in that mid lane. And we have to talk about the summoner spell choice from Cool here. He's all about mobility. You'd think on the hunt would be enough movement speed, but Flash goes to the summoners he's picked up here.
Yeah, love the double mobility there from Cool's Cassiopeia. Really good to see how that's going to go. I think the other thing as well is Flandre's on kind of a carry top laner now as well. He's got Jarvan as his pick.
We've only seen one Jarvan top in the LPL so far, and it's struggled against an Aurelia. Not a great matchup for Jarvan, admittedly, in that stage. It's interesting. They've seen so much rumble coming out of Flandre for a person who's really known for the carry tops. Giving him a bit of carry flavor, something different.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our first game here as OMG take on Snake. All right, welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for Game 1 between OMG and Snake.Q, and what a way to kick off our third week of LPL coverage. This should be fun. And you mentioned it, Papa Smithy. Cool has taken double mobility summoners into this mid lane. Cassiopeia has been thrown out here.
And it seems like we can answer that question you threw out there. It seems like they're happy for Snake to have those comfort champions. They've scouted out this team comp. It's one that Snake have played multiple times in the LPL so far this season, and they're saying, all right, we've got an answer to what you're bringing.
Yeah, curious to see what Flandre could do here as well on Jarvan. He's played spectacularly, but kind of a lot more utility instead of carry potential on his top laners, but he's got maybe something different here. Lissandra versus Jarvan's actually a top lane matchup, and OMG are going to be invading here quite early on, looking to get some deep wards down.
Yeah, obviously trying to look for the lane swap. That's been the OMG standard so far this season. They've been all about getting the aggressive wards down just so they ensure they don't get lane swapped on when that's not their main objective. You have to think they're looking for 2v2 laning here just because Sivir Thresh in a lane so much stronger than that Tristana-Janna combo.
Absolutely, but I think Snake they're not okay with it necessarily, but they'll take it here. Crystal's actually got into a lot of interesting lanes with late game champions, so I guess they'll just lane it out at this point. Although maybe OMG actually looking towards the top lane, they might initiate the swap themselves.
Yeah, and it's hard to say at this point whether they're looking for the swap or whether they're just going to be fooled into a swap, but at the moment it does look like we're going to see a lane swap.
Yeah, so it should be 2v1 here. OMG's Loveling will start here on the Grump into blue. Lowe's going to help him out there on his Thresh, and looks like actually an invade coming here. Beast going to get the counter jungling done early.
Yeah, so they're going to get, but you have to expect it's still going to be a 2-buff start for both junglers. That's kind of been the standard so far in the LPL this season, but at least starting on that side of the jungle, and Jarvan's coming in for some experience as well.
What's Flandre doing here? He's just joining in, going to help Beast do a bit of jungling. Ella's going to come down towards the bottom lane against Lissandra there. And I can see Low already up towards that Thresh on the red buff. So we have some very weird jungling going on, Papa Smith.
We've actually seen a bit of this Jarvan follow whenever we've seen a top Jarvan, just because if Jarvan can leech level 2 off some of these jungle camps, his level 2 gank in the mid lane is incredible. And look, the 5-minute standard has been those 4v4s in the mid lane. You only really need 3 levels to get all your skills on Jarvan, and you're very, very relevant in a skirmish.
But Beast off to a good start, getting in the enemy jungle early. Looks like OMG will answer in kind though, and I love the way this swap works out. Snake are actually protecting their bottom lane now, vertically taking the bottom side of the map for themselves.
Absolutely. There's so much presence in the top lane from OMG right here, but the bot lane and the bot side of the jungle, it's all about Snake.
And you have to think that Crystal here, he's been such a key piece in a lot of Snake's wins. He's played Tristana in multiple games so far and looked amazing on it. He must be feeling great here in these few opening minutes of their first game against their biggest opponent so far, for sure.
And we talk a lot about the power trough that you have with a Tristana pick right here. I mean, Snake have opted into 2v2 lanes they have no business running. You know, Tristana-Janna against very strong lane-dominating duos. And they've just relied on Crystal eventually getting to that late game point and carry. And they're happy to take games to late game if that's necessary. But that's one thing for it to be a strategy against some of the lower teams in the league. Against OMG, it's a big risk.
Great warning here, though, but OMG actually got going. We'll see the 4-man gank coming. They are going to go in for it, though. Level 2 Lissandra. Not a whole lot you can do. Does glitch, but that blind you, though, tries to time it perfectly, but going. It's going to bait him out of it. They have to have in, though. Beast going in. Now Crystal going in over the top. There's first blood for Tristana, and now Beast going to fight Loveling as well. Rengo's in a lot of trouble. Forced to flash out there. Beast going to chase in, and looks like they'll be okay, but first blood did go to Snake.
Yeah, the glacial path was not able to be competed by Going, and someone who has been so adept at avoiding those early turret dives does fall, and first advantage of this game to Snake.
Really aware play by Flandre, so lining up the flag and drag combo on top of that E, and Going had nowhere to go.
And we look in the top lane here. This has been a strategy that OMG have employed many times, having Sivir and specifically having Uzi freeze in the top lane and returning with a massive buy. We've actually seen Uzi stay in the top lane with Vayne until he had enough gold for a Blade of their own king, but this is a very fast push coming on by Snake. The first turret has already fallen.
Yeah, an aggressive 4-man proxy by Snake gives them the first turret of the game down towards the bottom, and they're not stopping. They looks like they're going to fast push with Nunu, Jarvan for double attack speed, and Janna Triss to help in.
You have to think to some degree, though, OMG are asking for this just because it's got Sivir at the top lane denying any wave pushing, holding the wave under a turret. There's no reason for Flandre to enter that top lane. He cannot lane there safely. There's a bit of a KD Rolster Bullets feel about this, very old KD Rolster Bullets. They're responding to the wave pressure that OMG have been putting down, and they're trying to get as many objectives as possible to trade for the fact that this Sivir is going to basically free farm for the first, at least 10 minutes of this game?
Yeah, as you see in the mid, looks like we could have the 5-minute 5-man gank. O's in trouble. Crystal goes in. Flandre in there as well. Cool is so low. Goes down to Crystal. Ella taking the turret as low. He gets stunned. Crystal going back in Bucker there with that next kill as well. 3-0 Snake in 5.5 minutes.
An outrageous turret dive coming from Snake. Then I want to single out Ella. I'm sure we'll hopefully get a replay of that one. But Ella was so smart, taking an extra 2 turrets turret shots at full health, and Loveling's in trouble.
Loveling's in so much trouble. The stun misses, but Crystal gets another kill. Flandre is so low, the teleport's in for going, but there is nothing he can do.
And that teleport is a summoner spell wasted. 2 more kills come out there. The juggling of this turret aggro is unbelievable from Snake. Crystal, okay, he's going to get his back stopped, but he'll live. And this is an unbelievable start for this LSBL upstart team.
2,500 gold up already, and Snake have just made every right decision here in the early game. They pinged the dragon and didn't go for it because they think they spotted OMG's ward that's just been sitting there, honestly doing nothing.
But there's pushing the limits of your champion, and there's 4-man turret dives at 4 minutes into the game, pastry time. It's insane start right here. 4 members of OMG falling behind right there, and it's only really a free farm Sivir to show for all the trouble.
Yeah, it's Flandre in the top. Now going to start getting some farm of his own. He's actually got an early Glacial Shroud here, so going very tanky through his team. Not going to be that carry Jarvan that we might have expected to see here in this game as well. And he's going to get some farm. He's got a little less than going, but these are 2 very starved top laners. You have to think Jarvan's got the better of that.
And we've talked about powered troughs before, pastry time. At 6 minutes into the game, this is a 3-0-1 Tristana with a pickaxe and an Avarice Blade. There's few words to describe just how strong this Tristana is from those early turret dives and grouping.
Yeah, and we talk about enabling Crystal on Snake's side. They not only play so well around him in team fights, but they seem to set him up a lot. And the way the early game rolled hit for Snake, that's true as well. And he could not have asked for a better start to this game.
I mean, there's one thing to pull out games, to allow a Tristana to farm up, get that gold, and then fight late game, because that opens up the enemy team to counter that, to play very assertively, to pick up objectives. There's another complete thing to actually picking up 3 kills in the early game. And this power trough, it's not looking realistic for the Tristana right here. It's probably going to just be a complete power plateau.
Yeah, OMG have rotated down here now as well. So they're going to look in to try and take out the bottom turret and pick up their own structure here. But no answer there for OMG. They'll think 3 or 4-man rotation does not yield results. And Crystal is actually going to settle into, I don't want to really say this, but standard lanes.
Well, the thing is, Snake has forced these standard lanes. There was no reason for Uzi to rotate from the top lane right there. He had so much farm up there. He was doing so well. They forced this, and they're winning this early game consistently.
Yeah, and we talk about lanes breaking out sort of standard here. This isn't quite the setup here. Cool's actually going to get caught in the mid. Beast over the top smites him. The ultimates come through for Baka. Can he land the last one? No! For the first time maybe in forever, misses the last bolt.
Millimeters away from assassinate just with the ultimate right there. Usually Xerath will only be trying to get one of those Xerath ultimates. He was going for all 3.
Yeah, Cool that dodges a bullet. No defensive summoner for himself either, only mobility, so just has to drink a potion and say, oh, Ella, gotta be careful, does just miss the hook there, but there's so much damage jumping in. Uzi gonna run through as well, and there's the second kill, for OMG.
No summoners available here. Crystal's gonna have to be very careful. She is able to jump out.
Is indeed, there's Crystal. We'll get away there from that one. Still 2,000 gold up for Snake as well as Flandre, now level 6 up against Going's Lysandra, which has also hit that same level. But again, we talk about the lanes breaking out now finally into standard lanes. Snake have set themselves up early so well. And again, Crystal is the biggest beneficiary here.
But Flandre's kind of struggling. I mean, he'll really like this. Eventually, you'd have to expect Frozen Heart coming out. But he has no items for laning whatsoever against Going compared to Double Doran. So in terms of laning stats here, Flandre's in trouble.
But you know what? I've seen Snake play enough times now where I think they're actually okay with that. Loveling does get out with the Lantern. It looks like Snake are trying to defend this blue buff that OMG will look to invade. Pink Ward's going to get cleared out now as well. Tristana not quite available. Good dodge of the hook there from Ella as well. Baka's also around the side, but everyone from OMG are 3 members strong. 4 members now as Uzi rotates in. Going to look for the blue. Who got it? I think Baka actually might have sniped it.
He might have that. Can't really tell if that... No, Loveling's is fresh. It was Loveling that picked it up with the smite.
I think Snake must have sniped the other blue buff then after that invade. They almost got a kill on Call as well. So buff's going to get traded there back and forth, it seems. Looks like Loveling and Baka both have their blue buff. And yeah, as we said, Flandre is struggling a bit, but he's played a lot of resourceless-looking games when Snake have played.
And it was a smart, calculated aggression from OMG there just because they had a teleport advantage on Going. You see right here, Flandre's just about to get his turret up, but did not have it for that engagement. They could have turned it into a 5v4 with Going so strong right now, free farming in the top lane. So the controlled aggression still coming out from OMG, but they're definitely starting from a massive deficit.
Yeah, Snake have slowed it down a little bit here. Haven't quite gone in for an early dragon. They do have options with Nunu, of course, to get aggressive, but they'll stay relaxed for now. Mid lane looking decent. Actually, Bucker a bit behind despite the injury, but only 10 CS against Cool here. Probably pretty happy with that. Maybe the other difference, so Crystal, 20 CS behind Uzi's free farming Sivir.
20 CS, but is actually up in gold just a little bit, of course, with the Avarice Blade income and the 3 kills. He still has the kill advantage, but it's very close between those carries. Probably a little too close given just how amazing Snake's start was here.
Yeah, I love Snake again moving in for a 2-man dragon to start things off. Ella and Beast, the Korean duo for this team, are going to move in, and looks like they'll just steal this away. Just had enough vision here. Good wards behind the back as well. Crystal going to rotate in. You can see they do actually have vision of the speed shrine, but no answers there for OMG. First dragon goes to Snake.
Another neutral objective coming down from Snake here, trading on their early advantages. About 1,700 gold. Of course, no gold coming out from that dragon anymore. So actually quite a sizable lead for 11 minutes. But it feels like we're going to get into the real nitty-gritty of this game right here as we're starting to see massive CS leads being accumulated in the top lane.
And I think the other thing is that OMG, again, playing AA. AA is almost always a very mid-game centric type of team composition, and Snake have clearly gone again to put a lot of eggs in Crystal's basket and hope he can carry. If, you know, in the next 10 minutes or so when OMG's comp really powers up, how do you think Snake's going to be able to weather that assault?
It's a big question mark here, just because this Sivir actually is doing reasonably well. It does have very similar gold to Crystal, but Crystal's gone for a very early game focus build. He's not just going to cash in for 600 gold on that Avarice Blade. Has opted in straight into the static shifts, has a lot of wave pushing here. And they're just trying to counter this mid-game focus team with aggressive pushing and grouping. And just, of course, they will eventually scale into the late-game beasts that are Xerath and Tristana at level 18.
Yeah, and Crystal very comfortable. Static shift plus the pickaxe picked up nice and early. Going to make that transition into the 2-3 item power spike as smooth as he possibly can. Now, Uzi looking good as well, though. Avarice Blade plus 2 components of that IE with the BF sword and the pickaxe already completed as well. Looks like Tear of the Goddess, though, for Cool, looking for a Archangel Scepter, early on.
And we've seen a lot of these tanky focus builds coming out from Wayless, I guess, who's been the main Cassiopeia player in the LPL right here. One thing you can say, he's going to avoid the Rod of Ages, so he's not going to go for that early stacking. He's looking for the instant power right now. It might hurt him in the late game just because you have to position so aggressively on that Cassiopeia that if the Petrifying Gaze doesn't hit the correct targets, you can be instantly exploded. But I imagine it's going to be the very early Seraph's Embrace into probably a Rylai's Crystal Scepter just for a bit of sticking power and a bit of health.
You see Crystal up in the top lane, actually, picking up some CS here. Going to use that static shift to push in maybe another turret going. Has to be a little bit careful, maybe, so does Crystal as well. And I think they'll reconsider how aggressive they're going to be in the 2v1. Looks like low rotating up as well. We're going to make it a 2v2 lane.
And Flandre, we see him moving towards the mid lane right here. He's kind of been the only person on Snake who's really struggled in the early game right here. He was in a lane with that early armor against an AP champion. He went back and picked up a Hex Drinker and, of course, got lane swapped against Sivir. So he's not really found the lane matchup he's looking for, but it is Jarvan. He is utility focused. He doesn't need a lot of items. So maybe if you had to choose anyone in the Snake lineup to fall behind early, he's probably the one.
Yeah, and again, he's looked so good apart from one big carry game on Aurelia with honestly very little farm. Snake seem to be content kind of leaving Flandre wherever the rest of it falls, and now actually a 4-man push in the mid lane who will force the teleport there. A good tornado that knocks up low, and Snake going to get away with some really basically free pressure.
And given that so much of the early hype was about Flandre and his carry top mechanics, Fizz top was the thing that was echoed around the analysts, but of course we haven't seen any Fizz coming out of Flandre so far. It's been that rotational play. So I guess the one thing that has changed for sure has been the fact that they've brought in these Korean players. I feel like the bringing in Beast and Ella, this new Korean jungler and support, has really changed the identity of this team. And Flandre doesn't feel like he has to go for these all-in, win the game myself or lose the game off my back champion. He's happy to play the rotational champions like Rumble, and to a lesser extent Aurelia and Jarvan, and just try and impact the team that way. And Crystal, man, has he stepped up so far in the LPL. He's been one of the top 80 carries to watch.
Yeah, maybe not the Korean utility duo for support jungle we were thinking of moving into the LPL coverage, but Beast and Ella have been fantastic on this team. Barker as well, looking good, still behind a bit in CS, but Xerath seems on point despite the injury.
Absolutely, and that's what I said about this matchup. If you want to play aggressively as Xerath, you're going to take a lot of pain. He's not interested in getting in range of any of the poisoning, especially not in terms of the Twin Fangs coming out of Cassiopeia. Happy to get denied, 30 CS here. As long as that doesn't grow to 100 CS or more, he's happy to sit at 30 CS or less as in terms of a deficit in mid lane, and just scale up to that late game where his obnoxious range will come out and he'll still be very team fight ready.
Yeah, so as we move through 15 minutes, have a lapse, Dragon back in 2 minutes, and some important items being completed by OMG now as well. The mid lane has seen Cool picked up his Archangel Scepter, and Uzi has finished his Infinity Edge completely there as well. Morello Nomicon not quite up for going, but this will be a very competitive Dragon if OMG choose to fight the second one.
Yeah, tabbing over to the gold, about 1550 gold up for Crystal, so probably going to pick up a BF sword before the 1 minute 30 elapses and we see a Dragon fight coming in. It's not going to be the same power as that straight Infinity Edge, but look, it's the reality of the Tristana power trough in the mid game. But she's doing her best to skip it because she does have a lot of items for this time in the game.
Yeah, and there's Crystal's BF sword, just like you mentioned. And it's going to be very well timed for this fight. Loveling posturing around the blue buff as well. Looking to go aggressive, going with his teleport. No, actually down here, but OMG will take out the bottom turret instead. I imagine we'll see some rotations down from OMG just to try and, again, secure everyone around the Dragon Pit. Sorry.
And bringing back to who's losing out after all these early map movements, look at Loveling. He just pings level 8, so he's now level in terms of level with Beast, but in terms of items here, he's only really focused on mobility with those boots of mobility and just the complete constituent parts of the warrior enchantment on the jungle item here. Has not even finished his jungle item at 16 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I'm just checking around as well. This Tristana is going to get souped up a little bit by the Nunu. Looks like Beast is actually getting a couple more points into Blood Boil early on. Here at level 8, got 3 and 3 for Blood Boil plus Snowball. And again, this is a big turning point for the game. If OMG can't get their things rolling with these strong AP champions, Snake are going to just shut them out of Dragons.
It's almost going to be one of those situations where a late game focused team steals away the objectives and really loses out on that objective Snowball you would expect OMG to pick up, just because Lissandra and Cassiopeia with a Sivir is insane mid game.
Yep, Gogoing does have his teleport, but he's wandering back down. Snake are going to look to get vision around the Dragon Pit. They've got the pink down, they've got the speed shrine as well as they took out the crab. And this is going to be quite the 5v5. Loveling does prep the ultimate now as well. Cool looking through his level 11, crucially. Loveling didn't see anyone, didn't want to go in, and they're maybe going to trade here. Snake go in 5 enters with the Dragon. That'll go down very quickly. Baka going to poke them off the turret, or try to. They do get it, but the second Dragon does go to Snake.
Okay, so the objective Snowball starts here, but we're going to see a rotation coming through. Of course, Uzi does have access to On the Hunt, so they are so fast moving between lanes. This is a decent trade for them to opt into. I mean, because the second Dragon, not so important in the grand scheme of things, but it does set you up for a third. And that's where OMG, I think, are going to have to really knuckle down and say, all right, we're going to have to opt into a fight here.
I like Snake's response as well. Going to try and counter-push the mid lane instead, but the wave clear between Lissandra Cassiopeia is pretty immense, not to mention the threat of Lowe's Thresh hooking you in as well. So Uzi will get the third outer turret pretty much for free there just by pushing that in, and Snake really want to open up more of this map, not able to do so yet.
And those words are almost ecstasy to your ears if you're an OMG fan, because so much of OMG's best work has been done after they get out the outer ring of turrets. It's taken out right here, and I'm going to start to expect both Loveling and Luo going into the enemy jungle, getting those aggressive wards down, because their pick potential here between the Sandra ultimate, between all of Thresh's engage options, they have a lot of engage right here. And even though it's a Nunu jungle right here, and even though Snake probably have their tails up after a very impressive first 18 minutes, once those picks get started, they often don't stop from OMG.
Yeah, we've kind of swapped the gold lead around as well. OMG have actually crept themselves up to about 1,500 gold ahead due to the turrets they've been able to take out. And some of the spare CS they've gotten, both AD carry in the bottom lane and the mid lane have actually opened up pretty sizable leads now.
And it's one of those questions where you ask, how much is 2 Dragons worth? You know, what's the gold value you can put on that? In terms of the stats, you can start to estimate it. Obviously, 6% AD and AP will scale as the game goes on, so it's definitely not got a linear value in terms of the value of the gold of those stats. But I guess the bigger question is, how much gold do you put in being in the best position to pick up the 3rd, the 4th, even the 5th, the mythical 5th Dragon? Yeah, so it's one of those things where you're setting yourself up for the late game.
Yeah, crucial rotation by Snake as well. We had Ella team up there with, I believe, Beast, and just be able to, Baka, and be able to take out the mid turret for themselves. So 3-2 now in turrets. That's good gold for Snake, and a lot more room towards the bottom half of the map, but they've been concentrating a lot of their objective focus on in the early stages. So good movements there. But again, this is where OMG's comp and their playstyle really start to power up.
And what I want to see from Snake here to capitalize on their early advantages is to invest in 5 pink wards and really get those defensive pink wards going down in the obvious spots where we're going to see OMG set up for picks right here. Once you get those defensive pinks down, they already have double sightstone, so they should have great vision. But vision denial right now is actually significantly more important than getting aggressive vision down themselves.
And OMG looking to group here. Crystal still taking side lane farm where he can. just trying to pick up whatever farm he can to get towards that Infinity Edge. Has fallen pretty significantly behind Uzi here, about 40 CS behind so far, so does need to catch up and keep the Tristana train going.
And it just tells you the power of Sivir in this matchup, that if you tab over to gold, it's about 1,000 gold lead for the Sivir right here, despite being behind in kills and an assist. Just because that's the reality of the laning difference between these two champions. You don't pick Tristana for the early game laning. She's going to be happy enough to be 1,000 gold down, because if not for those kills and those early rotations, it could have been 2 or more 1,000 gold.
Yep, Cool has transformed his Archangels into Seraphs now as well. Loveling actually aggressively in the enemy jungle. Going to pop his ultimate and go hunting here with Cool. We'll find a pink ward. Ella has to be careful. Does spot them off though. Do take out the pink ward with OMG. And this is a lot of what we expect now at the 20-minute mark. OMG really looking to apply lots of pressure and force Snake back towards their own base.
And reiterating that time at 20 minutes, and I believe that was the first Loveling Rengar ultimate coming down here. Loveling's been really heavily denied and behind right here, although he's positioned very aggressively. I'm not sure what he can really do by himself at this point.
I mean, going to have to rely on, I think, a lot of Kulingo going to help him engage. And there's a lot of heavy engage here for OMG. So all enabled by Uzi's Sivir ultimate. So lots to love here. But OMG going to look to get grouped. Probably try and take away the first dragon and just strangle Snake back into the map before Crystal's Trist really gets going.
And you can see Crystal's up top. He's trying to farm. He has enough gold for the Infinity Edge. Hasn't backed right here. Of course, there's no real pressure for him to get down until dragon starts to spawn. This timer finally comes up. 2 minutes before is usually when we start seeing the best teams in the world start to posture for vision right here. I'm going to really monitor the pink wards for Snake. I think they are really the important thing right here. Although with Crystal's positioning right now, maybe they're looking to make a trade. Maybe they want to trade that top turret for their first dragon.
I mean, they're already ahead on dragon, so that's a reasonable trade. You can see Bucker in the mid lane as well, building up towards his Rabadon, so going for a very aggressive mid-game oriented Xerath build here. Just wants maximum poke out of that item here. Crystal again still taking empty lane farmers. Going. We'll join him in the top lane just to clear some things out. And again, we're going to have one hell of a fight here. OMG, if their comp needs to start to fire, it's probably this next dragon fight where it just has to go.
The Archangel's transform was super early in this game. I believe it was around the 19-minute mark we saw that coming out. So much extra tankiness coming out from capping out your tier in that situation. It's going to be the Zhonya's second, probably, from Cool right here. So it's a different flavor of tanky frontline Cassiopeia build. He's going to rely on that stasis and, of course, that Seraph's Embrace to get stronger. And you tab over to Nunu, he's really just going to double down on boosting up that Crystal.
Well, Crystal, yeah, just finished his Infinity Edge, so this is a very crucial moment for both teams. OMG have got a lot of major items done here for their two big AP carries here. And Uzi, of course, 2-item power spike ready to go on Sivir. But we've got 2-item power spikes both for Bucker and Crystal as well. And the Dragon's back in 30 seconds, Papa Smithy.
And just checking to see how many points we see in Rapid Fire coming out from Crystal. It is the 5 points. So between 5 points in Blood Boil, 5 points in Rapid Fire, Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, this Tristana is going to be doing crazy late game damage at the 22-minute mark of this game.
Yeah, and this is really where Snake, kind of what they set themselves up for, I guess, in the early stages of the game. Accelerate Crystal's build a little bit more, get them to a point in the mid game where they feel comfortable fighting. They got ahead on Dragons as well. Crystal actually, oh my god, that's so much damage onto Loveling. Bucker actually going to use his ultimate. Loveling, can he dodge the last few? Does dodge 2 or 3, and that's keeps him alive.
And it's going to be that deceptive damage there, Patreon, just because you can never expect a Nunu to max out Blood Boil first from the jungle. It doesn't help him selfishly almost at all when it comes to clearing jungle cramps or even picking up neutral objectives right here. But with all that poke on Loveling, no way they can test this third dragon right here. The lead's growing for Snake.
Yeah, really strong pick there. Or not even pick, just some strong pressure by Snake to get Loveling out, remove that smite from the map. Crystal got to be careful though. Does go hook, flashing a good sign though, coming and going. Gonna get in there. Beast flash ulties on top of going. And Crystal receives that kill now. Loveling gonna dive in. Nunu's in trouble around the back, but Crystal is firing on all cylinders right now. Xerath gets the neck till Crystal jumps forward, and that is poking them off here. 2 free kills for Snake.
Crystal free hitting on the Tristana in the mid game is not usually a huge problem if you're OMG, but he's massive right now. He has so many items, has that Blood Boil, and he was able to free hit at full HP, almost full mana, and OMG had no answer.
These objectives will melt as well if Snake get free time on them. Crystal, thanks to turret, it probably didn't want to do that. Uzi around the side trying to poke, but that turret, goodbye tier 2 mid lane turret. That's 3-3 now in turrets for Snake, and their comp has started to go. OMG was supposed to be winning now.
And OMG just seemed to have no answers right here. Uzi was forced to poke at the minion wave from the side. As we come to the replay right here, Crystal makes the evasive maneuvers. Going gets stunned at just the crucial moment, then dies during all the chaos right here. But watch Crystal at the side here. free hitting with the Blood Rail, with 5 points in rapid fire right here, doing so much damage for mid-game Tristana. And if you're an OMG fan, I got bad news. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's not looking good. The gold is even back up, but Snake have 3 dragons over OMG at this point in the game. Almost 25 minutes have elapsed, and what a way to kick off our first game of the day here, Papa Smithy is cool. Gonna look to get his own blue buff for, I think, one of the first times in this series.
And we knew it was going to be a big game. It's first versus second. It's already a banner match, but this Baka on this Xerath, OMG were confident enough to leave up Xerath and give Cool a counter pick. They knew Xerath was going to be snapped up if he had the choice, especially with that injury. Comfort is the one thing you want when you're forced into a situation where something's different. Obviously, he's going to have slightly less mobility, but he's going to be so experienced on this champion. He hasn't skipped a beat. He's behind in CS, but that was expected in this matchup against Cassiopeia. He was just farming from range. And look, 203, respectable CS. Baka's a trooper.
You want to talk about comfort? Crystal's Tristana just looks so good. 4-0-2 so far. Just again, the beneficiary of so much of Snake's early game and mid game here. I mean, still behind Uzi and CS. Interestingly, Uzi is actually an item ahead right now with the last whistle completed. And that's credit to Uzi as Loveling dives in onto Beast. Nuna could be in trouble here. The wave does come through there for Ella, and Beast getting low does go down to Loveling. And there's the 3rd kill for OMG.
Importantly, no realistic objectives that OMG can pick up with all the outer rung of turrets stacked down. We see a bit of poke coming out of Baka just to scare them away right here. But OMG, they really want this mid turret. Uzi is really super powered right now with that last whisper finish. And with Beast down, it's going to be hard to opt into a fight.
Yep, so going to try and siege up this tier 2, but the wave clear from Xerath is very strong. Crystal going to come in now as well. Level 14 on that Tristana. It's so important to give you a carry farm, but Tristana especially loves her empty lane farm.
And it's worth noting here that this is an equal levels between Crystal and Uzi, despite the fact that Uzi had solo lane experience during all those early game hijinks right here. Uzi should have a significant level advantage. Does not, and of course that draw beat passive, it's just adding up. Tristana's becoming stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and Crystal's back again in the top lane, say, hey, delicious minions, I'll take those. Ella even up to the top in case. It's going to give them a 4th tower now as well. And this Tristana is completely rolling now for Snake, and Uzi going to pick up his farm in the bottom lane, but OMG have not been able to do anything proactive. Snake have dictated the first 27 minutes of this game.
And it's the significance of calling OMG a reactive team. How many times do you do that a year, let alone a split, let alone a week of the LPL? But it's a massive thing to put OMG on the back foot right here. Going was an impossible decision right there where, look, he could have teleported to top lane, has so much wave clear on that Lissandra, but then they wouldn't have teleport available for Dragon. They can't afford to give up the 4th Dragon here. So OMG just have bad decision after bad decision to make with a pick comp, with the proactive nature of their comp. That's just not something that's acceptable. We look down at the mini-map here. Pink wards have started to be accrued for Snake right here. They're recognizing that if no picks come out here, they're going to get outscaled, and my God.
Crystal just solos going there, who just doesn't even have time to use his ultimate on himself, let alone the Zhonya's in his inventory.
And that item disadvantage is gone. He's got the last whisper finish up here alongside the Berserker's Greaves. Insane. We look at the gold values out here. Still very even between Sivir and Triss, but the teamfight impact, it's just going to grow.
Yeah, and again, Snake are going to set themselves up for another dragon here. And Baron is a big threat now as well. Snake, in general, just have amazing neutral objective damage.
And this is all with Flandre being behind basically the whole game, just scrounging up for CS where he could, doing his best. But he's been doing fine. He's built those tanky items. He's still going to have so much utility in a team fight. Things are looking damn good for Snake.
Yeah, I mean, Flandre here has looked fine. Not resourceless exactly, but playing with limited resources or whatever his team basically gives him. That last little fight in mid lane, he positioned that Cataclysm perfectly to set up Crystal. And Snake is playing like the team that we've seen them play like, but our question was, can they play like this against OMG? And so far, that's been the case.
I think a lot of the unknowns about this game came from OMG just because what was their attitude coming into this game? What was their game plan? And it feels a bit like what we remember from SK Telecom T1, where in the first game of a series, they were happy to give out those powerful picks and say, look, we'll beat you with your comfort comp, then you'll have no chance when we take you out of your comfort zone in the second game. I feel like that's what OMG's done here, and it's backfired so far at the 28-minute mark incredibly poorly for them. They're really struggling, giving a comfort champion to a player who they know has an out-of-game injury in Baka. It's a bit mind-boggling to me.
Oh, Beast actually flashing forward for Loving for the snowball. Going to get Lantern now. Does pop the ultimate. Crystal's jumping forward as well. Teleport even came through for Flandre. Going though, is going to try and dive into the back. Does ultimate up L there. Loving going to jump in onto Beast. That's a good hook there. Following in as well. The double play also comes in, but Crystal is going to go back. Flandre defensively. Cataclysm's are in low is so low. Does go down there to Baka. And now the ultimate's going to come out for Poke. They are going to be able to dodge. Oh, going. Almost gets chunked down there. Beast very low as well, but a free kill for Snake once again.
A very messy engage, but the important factor is here that OMG actually has position on Snake's lanes right here, so they have to be careful with how they get back to lane to Snake right here. All right, they're going to back off in terms of pressure, being a man down. Not much to gain for Snake right there, but still, very messy fight. The flash engage from Beast seemed ill-advised, and OMG, they're rotating fast. They might be able to DPS down this dragon.
They do get the dragon, but they have to be careful. Snake are on their tail, but they will back off just in time. OMG will get their first dragon of the game, but Snake, unrelenting, going to try and push through and set something up.
But that over-aggression from Beast did basically cost them position on dragons. That's a pretty significant win for OMG to pick up those multiplicative stats right here. Looks like they'll be able to get at least a red buff for their troubles there.
Andre will face check Uzi here. Actually finds go going in low as well. Has to be careful. Goes in, gets a Sandra ultimate, EQ's out. Still gets hooked, but Low's in trouble. Does go down to Baka. That's going to give the red buff over to Snake as well.
The cavalry is very strong on this Snake side right here. They don't want to buy the bait. And that's the issue for OMG, is that when they use their single target picks right here, the carries that are coming behind whoever gets picked have so much damage. It's just not that useful for them right now getting those aggressive picks unless they can pick up the objectives.
Baka's in trouble. Uzi does get tornadoed up, and Baka will somehow survive. OMG coming through. Loveland goes in. Does get the kill, but it cost his life though. Crystal, another kill for himself. 6-0-4.
6-0-4, looking massive. Of course, Xerath actually picked up the answering kill right there, doing fine himself. The carries here are so strong, and the pick potential from OMG just gets lower as items get completed. Once the Mikhails come through, actually it is completed already on Ella right there. With the Mikhails, with the first defensive item we see out of Tristana right here, going to be so hard to lock down the damage between the massive range of Tristana and Xerath. And look at this, OMG, they're going for it all.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. They've got good Baron damage, though. Cool and Uzi especially can team up for a ton, and Snake actually have no idea this is going down. No vision here, and the OMG pick up a free Baron. That happens very rarely, and Beast gets the bad news with the ward over the wall.
Top teams don't give away free Barons very often right here, but gleefully gobbled up was that Baron buff for OMG. Look at the aggressive wards down for Snake. They're respectable right here. They just have one massive caveat. No wards around the Baron means a free Baron buff and at least a 3 to 4 minute reset for OMG.
And we talk about it, you can't split objectives late in the game on this particular patch. Both Dragon and Baron are so important, and you have to make choices where you want most of your vision to be, but you cannot let vision slip like that.
Yeah, the power of the one-man push with Baron buff is just undeniable. It's so massive right here, and it forces Snake to play reactively for 3 minutes. The one thing you can say for their favor is, all right, playing reactively with a Tristana Xerath, that's fine. It's not so bad. It's the late game fights that I worry about right here, but Uzi's popped the ult.
Loveling's actually found Crystal. Crystal going to pop up, and Loveling gets a great ball of heal. Does come through. Loveling going to go. That Crystal almost gets out with the reset, but Uzi takes him out.
It's still only a 1-for-1, but it's a significant kill right there. It's a shutdown goal for Siva right here, tabbing over to the gold. Siva's ahead in gold once again on this side, despite the kill disparity right here. Uzi's doing everything he can. It's just a question of what can Lissandra and Cassiopeia contribute in a late game fight. We know their power in their mid game. They have the potential for power in the late game, but there's so many late game champs on this Snake side. How are they going to kill this Tristana? That's their goal. They did it once, but it was in a messy engage in the side lane. In a 5v5 team fight against a Janna and all the peel on Snake, going to be significantly harder.
And I actually noticed before when Flanger went back to the shop a few minutes ago, he doesn't seem to really be worried about the double AP. He's got a Randuin's Omen and a Frozen Heart in his inventory.
Well, I mean, question Cassiopeia's damage at your peril.
Oh my god, Pucker is so good. He read the E from going and sniped him with the ultimate.
He's a god, is the words that ring around the group right here. He's doing really, really well. Nothing is phasing this man, not even an injury.
No, Baka still playing absolutely stellar on this Xerath. And yeah, they will total it up for a couple more minutes. 500 gold in the lead for Snake, so not a massive one, but still with the Dragon advantage. Happy to sit comfortable on this Tristana and a very big Xerath.
So while the neutrals are one thing, when you look at gold values right here, the gold has been so even so often on these patch 5, patch 5.1, which we'll move to very shortly. You have to take stocks of what are these comps and what do they perform in a team fight. And just looking down the champions that have been picked right here, I mean, you'd always opt into a late game level 18 team fight with items with a Tristana Xerath comp. They're just so massively strong in the late game, and there's no obvious ways for OMG to shut down, especially the Tristana here. Between the Janna Peel, the Mikhail's Crucible being finished, and of course the Blood Ball that's going to be applied on Crystal, the amount of damage that we have put out is incredible, and it's all about getting those objectives for your OMG, getting those aggressive wards right down, and getting the picks. But picks when you're behind in objectives, they're very, very hard to perform.
Yeah, and Crystal's got some pretty big eggs in that basket right now. 4 damage items completed for both AD carries in this game. But Tristana benefits a little bit more from those late game items than Sivir does here. And Uzi's been playing fantastically. He's trying here, but Crystal just looks so deadly. It's just a matter of Snake, can they protect their late game carry long enough in these fights? Because if Crystal gets maybe 10 seconds of free hitting, OMG will melt.
Crystal's kind of in a weird spot right here where in most games you'd expect a Tristana at this point to pick up a defensive item just for insurance. But you look down this lineup, where's the damage realistically going to come from Snake? It's their hyper carries. It's Barker and Crystal, but we could see a fight.
Yeah, Loveland going in there. Beast has to be careful. Plunger over the top. Crystal cutting back and forth out of the hook, and Beast now jumps in. There's a good auto reset for Ella. Cool now going in as well, but Crystal has been found out. Gets ulted by Lissandra, but Ella comes in to defend him. Plunger gets that first kill on to go going, and OMG are sort of being rallied back here low, coming back in looking for a hook. Crystal's in trouble actually. Uzi gets that kill. That's important now, and the flash out does come through for low. 1-for-1 trade, but they did lose Crystal.
Such messy fights right here. So we're probably going to see the disengage coming out right here. Crystal had to play a really important role in that fight. He actually showed up and auto-attacked aggressively just to take away aggression from the rest of his team. He bought time right there. He had to use his flash to be able to remove some of the aggression onto Snake right there. They were hopelessly split, and they can't afford to team fight like that when they only really have 2 true damage sources on their team.
Yeah, that's going to lose them a second Dragon, it seems like, to OMG. Dragon back in 7 seconds, and no real way for Snake to contest this. Low's even going to go back, spend his money. Feels confident that Snake are not coming to contest. Dragon's going to come down, and OMG will pick up their second of the game.
Well, it's important to note here, of course, that there is teleport available on Going right now. So, of course, he could have rejoined that fight very easily there. They would have realistically picked up that objective first. So they have to back away from a second Dragon. It could be objectives equal very, very soon. And once again, we see the value of stealing away that Baron buff and what it's meant for this game. From there, they picked up that pick on Crystal. They've picked up some good fights right here. And OMG are very smart at engaging in situations that help their comp. They're not interested in an elongated 5v5 team fight in the open. That's where they're going to struggle. But these fights where Crystal has to be split from his team, they're drawing aggro to both sides, that's where OMG can really come up big in a team fight.
Yeah, and it feels like for all the strong early game play of Snake, it falls a bit in the mid game here. Flandre gets found out by Loveling, does get bowled up. Ult does get popped by Sivir, but Uzi going in aggressively. Flandre should be okay here, but this tower might not be the same here. Just getting chunked out by Uzi's 4 damage Sivir, and that's gone.
The rotational play has been so strong from OMG right here. Snake, actually the ultimate was used on Beast right here, ostensibly just to stop him going in. The snipes come out, not going to fall this time, but man, there's so much happening all across the map in this game.
Bucket just does so much damage right now on this Xerath. He's got a need to see the large drop plus 3 damage items with the Fiend's Void Stuff and the Rival. I think if all 3 bolts had hit going, he would have actually died.
So we see teleports available on Jarvan right here, so of course Snake looking to stranglehold this Baron vision. They had none of it 8 minutes ago, but now with just a minute to go till Baron spawns right here. They have excellent vision around the Baron. They're not going to let it be stolen away once again, but can they still win a 5v5 team fight? With the way that OMG are fighting, so aggressively splitting focus between their carries, it's going to be difficult.
We'll have to see. It's interesting that we've not really had a big 5v5 group fight yet. We've had a lot of picks for objectives, but both teams have kind of traded back and forth through a few dragons, actually, as OMG do steal away the blue buff. That's important to take that away from Buck Xerath. And
it's been a game of 2 halves, just because the strategic play of Snake in the early game here completely outfoxed OMG. They looked reactive, they looked just outthought strategically, which you can't say very much about OMG. But in the second half here, OMG have really shone through in team fight choices, just because they've been so smart at dividing the damage targets on Snake and forcing bad engages that either go 1-for-1 and they pick up an objective, or they pick up a couple of free kills and a pick. They're using a pick comp so intelligently and realizing if they ever fight in an open 5v5 situation, they're almost certainly going to lose.
Yeah, and Snake sticking together for just that reason. Baron is back up as well. Snake will not be swindled a second time. Loveling does get poked off there by Bucker, but Loveling is looking for some flanks as well. I think Uzi here has felt a lot of pressure to carry this game. He's just going full damage right now. He's got an extra zeal as his 6th item.
And it's not the Sivir, it's not the Vayne carry that we kind of expect when we talk about Uzi here. It's been this Sivir choice where he's able to boost up his teammates. He trusts his carries on this team, and who wouldn't when you have Going and Core in your solo lanes right here. I mean, Going's really suffered right here, but he does have very team fight ready damage items. There's always the potential of that amazing lockdown coming down from Lissandra and then winning a team fight here. So many damage sources on OMG's side, so much relying on Crystal and Barker. That's the interesting kind of tip of the coin right here. Which one will win?
Yeah, OMG back on the Baron. Snake let vision drop, maybe a little bit. Flunder's actually porting in already. Crystal in the front lane here with Ella. Gonna join in, and OMG immediately Silverolten back off.
Yeah, they're not looking for a 5v5 fight. That is so much is clear right here. They almost steal away with the Baron, but not going to happen a second time in this game. Snake have position on them, but they don't really have a minion wave to be able to push down anything right here. That sounds like a Rengar ult being popped. Unsure, but really, really tense right now.
Yeah, I mean, OMG are trying to get objectives in, but Snake have sort of realized that we're at such a powerful point in our game that all we really want to do is stick together and force you to fight us here. I even just got Crystal stealing away the Raptors as well. It's going to go back for maybe another round. And Beast going to get caught out here, though. Low with a great hook, and he gets the kill.
OMG happy to use everything on Beast right there. They know that one pick is their solution to a Team 5 victory here, just because 5v5, Snake's got it. But in an unorganized fight, as they start to get the Vision Stranglehold, and especially taking down their jungler instantly, this should be a second Baron, but they're going to have to deal with a whole hell of a lot of poke from this Xerath.
OMG have to be so careful around this Baron pit, because even grouping up in a 4v5 is a bit dangerous as well, because Crystal can just output the deeps, even without the Blood Bowl ticking on him permanently. Oh, the crab does go to Loveling, I think. Looks like they'll secure that speed triangle, OMG.
But I mean, in this situation, it's actually Barker that's the big threat, just because with that magic resist debuff coming down from the Baron, once they start tanking that, those Xerath ultimates, they do a lot of damage already, Pastry Time. With any sort of percentage bonus magic damage coming out here, Barker's going to be doing incredible damage.
Yeah, Uzi has been built to carry this game. The Crystal actually cleaning the wave out in the top. OMG going to jump on the Baron. Uzi does so much damage on this Sivir, and there's no answer here. The Baron going to look in. That does got a call. Flandre, though, he's in the middle of them. Going to force out this fight. Barker pops the ult, picks up low, but that's not enough. Ella now forced to reset the fight as Crystal walks back in. Barker trying to snipe Uzi. Flandre really wants to pick someone off, but OMG get away with another free Baron.
They get a free Baron. They only lose one man right here. And what can Snake do during this time? This 35 seconds till low comes up. They've got great wave clear, they've got good sieging, but they have to be aggressive and go for it right now.
Yeah, they're going to try and get some structure damage done here. So Flunder's already backed off, and Loveling and Uzi will actually force them away from that push, and Uzi does so much damage to these creep waves.
But this Baron buff makes sieging really unsustainable, and you look down the bottom lane here, we've really complimented Snake for their side wave control, and there's a massive red minion wave coming down the bottom lane there. Unfortunately, the moment the cool shows up on Cassiopeia, all those minions are going to be buffed, and any of this macro sixth man strategy when it comes to map movements is going to be completely negated by this second Baron buff.
Yeah, top lane's been pushing in for OMG as well. Is Snake just going to stick around? I think they really want this fourth dragon. They're probably a little disappointed that they didn't have it earlier, because that makes forcing OMG into bad choices so much easier for them as a team. So this fourth dragon should go over to Snake if OMG don't want to contest.
It's been such a neutral focus game right here because of these comps, but Loveling is going to go in.
He's going deep. The Beast does pick up that dragon, and Snake will back off. Loveling going in. He's got to be careful. Does throw out the bowler, and Cool is looking for that ulti, but both teams will back away slowly.
Yeah, it's been so little fighting despite all our hopes for a bloodbath right here, just because this OMG comp can't look to fight 5v5. It's just not an option in their comp right here. They're looking to split push and force Snake into bad objectives and bad decisions. They've done that very successfully, picking up these two Baron buffs right here. But how do they close out a game to OMG? That's kind of my issue right here. Their sieging is fairly abysmal despite having 4 ranged auto attackers. No real range to speak of between those 4.
I mean, Snake, do you think they're just comfortable sitting here for the late game as well? Because they have been very patient with trying to close out this game despite how big Crystal's been basically the entire game.
I think they're waiting for that big neutral buff to come in. Whether that's the 5th dragon or the Baron, I think access to either of those would have been the death knell of OMG. That's why it's so significant that they've picked up the counter dragons and also picked up the Baron. We're moving to the late game here where one pick with 50, 60, 70-second death timers can be critical right here. We're going to see level 18s across the board very soon. We, in fact, see a couple on OMG, significantly only just one on Snake right here. But we're going to get to that point. And at that point, a pick comp almost goes through another power buff just because one kill's enough to win a game.
That's a good point here. Uzi's going to clean out these minion waves in the bottom with the help of some Baroned up cannon minions as well. Flandre, by the way, his job is apparently to tie up Uzi for the rest till the end of time because he has a Thornmail as his next item.
No damage to speak of whatsoever, barring a late game Hex Drinker right here. He's just super, super tanky. And basically, they're buying time for Crystal. They're buying time for Barker. That's the strategy right here. But Loveling's going in.
Yeah, it does. Ella does not need to reset. Good stun there coming through. Great poke coming in as well. Loveling goes down to back up. Flange dives in and Beast actually flash ultis in. The damage is massive there as Crystal gets another kill with Baka working in and now loads of trouble. Crystal goes in aggressively. Cool doesn't quite get the ulti. Crystal hops out and hops back in again. Uzi in trouble. He's going to go down maybe to Crystal, but does somehow all walk his way out of it. Uzi though going to go down to a snowball. Beast collects his gold and that's a wipe there for Snake.
There's 3 members up, but crucially not Tristana here. 4 members, sorry. They should still be able to finish the game here despite Crystal falling down. It was amazing to see that 1v1 between Sivir and Tristana. We'll have to see a replay on that, but it's going to be Snake. No one thought about it, especially before the season, but it's going to be Snake taking the first game here against OMG.
Yeah, between Janna, Nunu, and the Janna shield, it's build your own AD carry to close out the game for Snake. Actual AD carry is dead, unfortunately, but Snake, they don't need Crystal here to close out this game. Going to take a little while to take out these structures, given they've got kind of a mishmash of champions left, but they'll do it here in Snake. What a way to start their week here with a win versus OMG.
Just an unbelievable strategic display from 2 teams who looked down their comps, recognized their points of power, recognized their power troughs, and basically turned it all on its head. For a team that had mid-game problems, early game problems, Snake played so assertively in the first 10 minutes of that game to completely flip the game on its head, pick up an objective lead against a mid-game focused team, and then it was OMG's turn to really understand that it was a 2-threat comp, and if they could split those threats in a team fight, they were actually able to take down those 2 big Barons, get a couple of Dragons, delay the big power spikes, and then the finish, it was worth the wait. And we're going to get a replay here just to really see how this game come through. So this is right at the end here, of course, this big push that we're seeing right here. 5 men strong. This is finally going to be the 5v fight that Snake was looking for the whole time. So we'll roll the clip here. We see Loveling is actually the one who initiates a 5v5 right here, something that OMG have done basically not at the whole game, and Loveling just dies. He's exploded by Barker's damage, and wait for the Xerath ults to come down here. The AoE damage is massive, and then we're going to see the 1v1. It's going to be a lot of fun very soon. So Crystal, he actually gets Petrifying Gaze, has to jump out, flashes back in to take on Uzi. Look at this 1v1 here, so exciting. We do see a bit of damage coming out from Cassiopeia. Finally falls down. There's the lazy snowball. And that was the game for Snake.
I feel like if that spell shield had lasted 1 more second as well, that Uzi may have at least got a second kill, which would have been amazing to watch. But Uzi, we saw he tried so hard. He had a Trinity Force, his last item. He wanted to carry that game, but he could not get it done.
And let me make one prediction, Pastry Time, for this next game. We're going to see a hyper carry come out of Uzi right here. He's had enough of that Sivir, I think. He wants to play that Vayne. He wants to put out the damage because he was so close to doing it and kind of a bit hamstrung by the champion right there. And it was for once his solo laners. It was once cool and going that let him down a little bit.
Well, we'll have to see. It's going to be one hell of a second game here. OMG take on Snake in their best of 2 right after this.